The VA waiting room smelled of stale coffee and disinfectant, a place where time slowed to a crawl. Daniel Parker sat stiffly in one of the plastic chairs, his leg aching from an injury that never quite healed right. He stared at the peeling posters on the wall, all plastered with hollow promises. "We're here for you!" But the receptionist wouldn't meet his eyes. "Your claim's still processing, Mr. Parker," she said, the same line he'd heard every time for the past 6 months. He sighed, rubbing his temples. "I can't wait anymore. My rent's overdue, my medical bills." "I understand, sir, but these things take time." Time he didn't have. Daniel left the VA office clutching a stack of papers he didn't understand, walking toward his car parked on the cracked asphalt. His breath fogged in the cold air as he unlocked the door and sank into the worn driver's seat. His world was shrinking. Once he was a soldier, capable, confident, unbreakable. Now he was just another vet falling through the cracks. The eviction notice came 2 weeks later. He stared at the paper taped to his apartment door, feeling the weight of it pressed down on his chest. With nowhere to go, he packed what little he had left, some clothes, his military duffel bag, and a crumpled photo of his parents, both long gone. He stuffed them into the trunk of his aging sedan and started driving. First, he told himself it was temporary. Then a week passed, then 2. The car became his home. He parked in grocery store lots, on quiet side streets, anywhere he thought he wouldn't be noticed. The nights were the worst, the loneliness, the darkness pressing against the windows. He'd fall asleep listening to the radio, the same songs playing over and over, hoping they'd drown out the memories that clawed at him. He thought about calling his sister, but what would he say? I need help? He couldn't do it. He couldn't be that burden. One night, hunger gnawed at him, so he scrounged together the last of his change and went inside a gas station. The clerk barely glanced at him, wrinkling his nose as if he could smell the despair clinging to Daniel's clothes. He bought a cheap sandwich and a bottle of water, avoiding his reflection in the glass doors on the way out. When he returned to his car, something felt off. The driver's side door was slightly ajar. Daniel froze. He had locked it. He was sure of it. Slowly he reached inside, his fingers brushing against the empty passenger seat where his duffel bag had been. Gone? The police weren't much help. "Probably just some kids," the officer said, barely concealing his disinterest. "You shouldn't be sleeping in your car anyway." Daniel nodded, his throat tight. It wasn't just about the duffel bag. It was about the fact that it was all he had left of his past life. His service jacket, his discharge papers, even the dog tags he never took off, now vanished. He sat behind the wheel that night, staring into the darkness outside, feeling the creeping dread seep into his bones. He wasn't safe. Not here, not anywhere. Days turned to weeks, and Daniel faded. He stopped going to the VA, stopped checking his phone, stopped hoping. His body ached, his mind raced, and the hunger grew stronger. Then came the whispers. At first he thought it was just the wind sneaking through the cracked window, but soon it became more distinct, a low murmur drifting from the back seat in the dead of night. He'd spin around, clutching the steering wheel, but there was never anyone there. Only shadows. On a frigid December morning, Daniel's car was found idling on the side of an empty stretch of highway. The engine was still running. The driver's side door was open. Inside, his duffel bag had been returned, neatly placed on the passenger seat. The sandwich from the gas station sat untouched in the cup holder. But Daniel was gone. No footprints in the snow, no signs of struggle, just gone. The police report labeled it a disappearance. Possibly wandered off, they said, suffering from mental illness. The local paper ran a short piece. Homeless veteran missing, foul play not suspected. And then he was forgotten. Months later, his sister finally tracked down his car in an impound lot, the paint peeling from exposure to the elements. She slid into the driver's seat, staring at the faded dashboard, the empty space where her brother should have been. In the glove compartment, she found a single sheet of paper, a hastily scrawled note in Daniel's familiar handwriting. "I couldn't fight it anymore." Her hands trembled, clutching the note, and she whispered to the empty car, "You didn't have to do it alone." But the wind outside carried only silence. Daniel Parker became another name on a growing list of veterans lost to the system. A face on a missing person flyer taped to bus stops, fluttering in the wind, seen by no one. And somewhere out there, on the edge of the city, the highway stretched into the dark, waiting for the next soul to disappear. The end.